Okay, let's play some damn
Well, we haven't
chess.
come this far to give up now.
Yes, I agree. Okay, Tim, go ahead.
I look like spit smell. Or spit smell.
There we are.
No!
Pit.
Well, how do you know it's safe to touch?
Tim, is it alright to touch it?
Who can tell?
Well, now that we've made it, are we any nearer to knowing what it does?
It has something to do with the disruption of time flow.
Yeah, well, that would make sense, coming from a time traveller like Peter.
Well, if Peter sent it, it can't do us any harm, can it?
Chris?
It's perfectly harmless.
The real test for a telepathic device such as that is when it passes into the hands of a telepath.
Chris? Nothing at all. Slight tingling in the hand, and that's all.
What now?
Well, it's obviously working, whatever it is. Seems to have plenty of
There.
energy, too.
I would give
Suppose we
me
just
the
sit
leaders
here
all
and wait, see if it
my
does
life to look be a good looking guy. For long
Can't
arms.
just leave it in the middle of the table forever. Well, this
There's pit.
He didn't jaunt, he just vanished. Where's he gone?
Fuck off. Suck my dick. Come on, dickhole,
Hey everyone, welcome back
move.
to the Unit Projects. Pumped you're joining us today. I have Josh Yen, and we're going to be looking at Matt Dillahunty's video on the argument from contingency. Josh.
I'm doing good. Premier League's back this weekend, so I'm all hyped and pumped for it.
But Pulisic
Now I
got
gotta
hurt
get
last
rid of
night
that
trying
whore.
to carry the Americans.
Yeah,
that was good.
unfortunate, but hopefully nothing's bad this weekend, but hopefully everyone's back in full fitness.
Fucking
We will see
whore.
how it goes. We will see how it goes. I'm tired because for some reason I stayed up till like 1 a.m. watching that game last night.
Spit,
But
spit,
regardless,
spit,
we're going to be looking at this video on the argument from contingency from Matt Dillahunty. Josh, do you have anything you want to add before we get into this?
When you told me
It's
to
not
do the
fucking-
argument for contingency, I was very looking forward to it, because normally when I focus on cosmological arguments, I focus more on the Kalam cosmological side of things, and I barely touch the contingency thing. But it was actually quite a coincidental thing kind of coming up.
Wow,
because
put your black
you guys
ass
know
for
I've
Stalin.
been doing my college essays recently, and they told me to write an essay supplement or writing something. And I was like,
You better
well,
be glad
after
you
I essay,
moved
what can I
out
do
with
it on? I was
freaking
like,
put your
well,
black
I'm doing a
ass.
video with Zach, so let me do on the contingency argument. So, well, everything kind of worked out. It's all in the hands of God, I guess. Everything lined up really well. Well, here I am after I've written an essay on the contingency argument, so that was pretty decent.
No.
Can you imagine being like a college admissions person and just like reading these essays about like
Move!
COVID
Move!
contingency argument? And it's like definitely
Come
like
on,
a change of
dickhole,
pace.
move.
So,
Yeah. We'll see how that goes.
Move your ass. Move your
Yeah,
black.
so I do want to
Move
say
your
at the outset,
black
Matt,
ass.
you're awesome. It's actually a really good
Bitch,
video, and he
bitch.
lays out the argument pretty well. But we'll get into this. If you're ready to go, Josh.
Oh.
Yep, always ready to go.
Alrighty, let's do
Oh,
it. It's a kind of
put your
long video,
black
so I
ass
don't
for
know how long
Stalin.
today's recording is going to be, but we will see.
Stupid.
So let's just
Oh, you
dive
better
right
be
in.
glad you moved. I was picking you. Put
this
your
raises a
black
point that
ass
I
for
wanted to cover
Stalin.
for quite a while, and that is sometimes someone will email and say, what do you think about the teleological argument,
Stupid
the
bitch.
ontological argument, the cosmological argument? And in reality, there's no such thing as the argument for a given category. We categorize the arguments for the existence of God based on
Oh, he's bringing out that
the
whore.
category of teleological arguments, which there could be many of. There could be a new teleological argument tomorrow, probably only mildly, subtly different from the classical versions that we're aware of. There could be a new version of the moral argument. There are several versions of ontological arguments, even taking some of the classic ones and redoing them with modal logic. And there are several cosmological arguments, whether it's the Kalam cosmological argument or first cause versions. And the subject of today's video, the argument from contingency.
I just wanted to pause here because I was like, as I was listening to this, I was like, kudos to Matt for
Son
kind
of
of like
bitch,
really
son of a
understanding that, like, yeah,
bitch.
there's different kinds of these different arguments. And it's the same with contingency, like anything else. So yeah.
I completely agree with you, and I think Matt
Come
does a
on,
very good job in
dickhole.
kind of laying out the formula or the structure
Come on,
of these arguments.
dickhole.
There's always the big argument, the cosmological argument, but then within each of them, there's so many different interesting arguments themselves, like the Kalam and the contingency. Both are cosmological arguments, but they're just so different. So it's just a great way to represent all these arguments here.
Yes, sir.
So before we get started on an actual presentation of that argument,
Suck
what do
my
you mean by
dick.
contingency? So when philosophers talk about things that are contingent, which we'll need to understand for this argument from contingency, all they mean is that there's something about the nature of this item, that its very existence is contingent upon
Get
something
that whore out of
It
here.
doesn't have an explanation that is internal to itself, but it has a reason for being which comes from outside of that individual item.
Get
The
that
contingency
damn
is
whore out of
contrasted
here.
with, necessity. Necessary items
Stupid
are
bitch.
ones which don't have an external explanation for their existence. They just exist necessarily. There is something about their very nature such that they had to exist. There's no possibility that they couldn't have existed.
The fuck you
Whereas
talking about,
contingent
atheist
things could have at
pig?
least hypothetically not
Son of
existed.
a bitch.
One prime example is you. Your existence is contingent upon the existence of your parents, the existence of their
Come on,
preparation, and it
dickhole,
continues
move.
to chain backwards. Your parents' existence is contingent upon their parents, etc.
So, do you have anything you want to add here, Josh, with like Matt's like framing up contingency?
Nothing
Oh,
really. I
push
mean,
a
there's a lot of
black
different ways
asshole
people
for
have looked
stone.
at contingency in the past, though I think that this is perhaps the most
Come
simple
on.
understanding of the concept.
Yeah, because I mean, some people will be like, well, if everything's like deterministic or something, well, then here we go, there may be a problem. But yeah, I mean, this is a
Stupid.
I think like arguments based on like
Moron.
dependency with regards to
You
contingency
fucking
are probably
moron.
like the simplest way for at least for like this kind of context. So.
Ah, fuck your hole.
If we were to find something that had a necessary existence, we could control
Man, what a
it.
fucking... What a
It's very hard
fucking moron.
clearly identify something that has a necessary existence
Motherfucking
that is in
moron.
fact a
I can't believe that guy was so stupid. I mean, that guy was look up stupid in the dictionary, and you'll find that guy's picture.
and this connection
He was so stupid.
and expanding this to
Fucking cunt.
something we'll talk about when we get to the formal structure of the argument.
Ah, fucked his.
So that's just
Oh!
laying out groundwork and stuff with regards to this video. But do you have anything you add at this point, John?
I
stuck
think this is
a pole
just a
in
very,
his
very
hole.
interesting
I
topic that
fucked
he
his
raises.
hole
Like, well,
with the
how
pole.
exactly do we know
I stuck
what
a dick up his
is
butt.
contingent, what is necessary? We kind of have this idea that things are either going to be necessary or either going to be contingent. There's a really
It's
fine
Mr.
line
Sexy.
drawn between kind
Not-
of what is contingent and what is necessary, which we would be elaborating later on in the video, but it's just something to keep in mind. For example, a chair is contingent. My wallet is contingent.
With
You know
the
that there's something within a
spitty
wallet which
face.
makes intuitive or quite obvious
My
that
arm
this
smells
is a
like
contingent
spit.
thing. And then we turn to something like maths, like 1 + 1 = 2. It's quite a necessary kind of concept, or it's something which is quite necessary. And we kind of have an intuition to say,
No.
well, that is kind of necessary. But of
Come
course, that
on,
raises the question, well,
dickhole.
what exactly is the thing which makes us just have an intuition that something is quite obviously contingent and what is not? We'll develop that later on in the video when he talks about it a bit more. But I think that's just a very interesting question to start raising in our minds.
Spit.
Yeah, it's interesting because I think Matt does a good
Come
job
on,
of bringing up this
come
point to
on,
wonder,
you
like, what is the
dickhole.
relevant difference between like contingent things and necessary things? Because if I told you like this pen is, or your wallet, or this pen is the necessary thing, you'd be like, no, of course not. There's no way. And it's like, well, why is that? And is it because it looks designed, or I'm going to say it's because it has like these limits, and it's like there's explanations for like why it's the shape it is, and why it's the weight it is, and things like that. So Matt does a
My
really good
dick
job,
is
and that's the
getting
thing to really think
hard.
about. Like, what is the relevant difference between the contingent and the necessary? So yeah,
Because I'm beating his back. Because why? Because I'm beating his ass.
video every time, so there's this awkward.
That's
pause.
why my dick
One of
is
the
getting
issues with
hard.
the argument from contingency is that you don't really see a clear definition of what type of contingency you're talking about within the argument. This is perhaps intentional, perhaps a bait and switch.
Fucking piece of shit.
But it's important to realize that when we talk about things which are contingent, there's really two versions of contingency we're talking about. The first is causal. Your parents reproduced. This resulted in you. Your existence is causally contingent.
Oh, you want to swap whores? Come on.
Reproduction.
Let's do it. We'll swap whores. Let's swap whores.
Sustaining contingency.
Come on, let's swap
That is
whores.
The heat and energy we get from the sun.
Let's
the
swap
light
bitches.
that is encompassing me right now coming from the sun.
Stupid
It is
fucker.
contingent upon the sun, but it is contingent in a sustaining sense, which is if the
I
sun
just
goes
asked
away,
of your damn
light
castle.
goes away. Whereas if your parents go away,
Stupid
you don't want your parents
bitch.
to go away. So when we talk about contingency, we're talking about the reason for something existing. But we also need
Nah,
to consider,
I'm
is
fixing to
this a
fuck this guy's
causal contingency,
hole with a
in that
pole.
This is the cause, and this is
I'm
the
fixing
fact.
to stick his
Or is
dick
this
up
a
his butt.
sustaining contingency, as if you were pouring water out of a jug. That this existence of water flowing from that is contingent upon the jug being there and continuing.
Man, I'm so ugly.
That's not always clear.
I want to fucking kill myself sometimes.
So,
Okay, lots of great
Oh,
points again, Josh.
goddamn keys in
anything
check!
you want to add here? Because lots of good stuff.
Stupid bitch.
I think the first kind of idea that we can raise is that I think when he says, well, there
That
are
fucking
multiple
bitch,
different
you fucking
forms of
Houston,
contingency
bitch.
used in these arguments. I think he raises a very
Stupid! Wait.
I completely agree
Oh,
with that.
he
There are
swapped.
a lot of
That's
different
fine.
forms of different contingencies. However, I
I
would
was
not
thinking of
necessarily say
cursing
that it is
for
perhaps
being
an
stupid.
intentional equivocation. I wouldn't go so far. Rather, I would
fucking
say
moron.
that, as
Like
he's
a
admitted
fucking
previously,
moron.
that there's a plethora of different contingency arguments.
Come on,
there's a
dickhole,
plethora of
move!
Logical arguments. For example, the Kalam argument is
Dickhole.
mainly focused on a more causal contingency instead of a sustaining argument, whereas the contingency
Oh,
argument
you want to
raised by
swap rooks, do you?
is mainly
Let's swap
more of a
rooks!
sustaining contingency rather than a causal contingency. So instead of saying that there
Oh,
are perhaps
dude,
equivocations,
you
I'd just
fucked
like
up.
to make note that
Cuz,
perhaps these are
you
just different
fucked up.
arguments that we have to
Dumbass.
view or examine independently.
Yeah, I think that's good. The only thing I'd add is, like, at least my favorite
'Cause
version is, like,
you
kind of like the one that, like,
fucked
Bruce has
up.
and, like, the Black Book at the end. 'Cause I think it's just the simplest one. But it's like every contingent
Wait,
fact has
spit,
an explanation. There's a
spit,
contingent
spit.
fact that includes all other contingent facts. This is like summing together, like me, you, everything that could have been other different.
Oh,
therefore,
you
there's
want-
an explanation of this fact, which involves a necessary fact, and we say this necessary fact is God. But like, yeah, there is different kinds, and like at least for me, causal to like contingency arguments just make more sense. But that's mostly just because of my ignorance of like, Thomistic metaphysics.
Oh, your ass doesn't want to
I've
move!
not paid a lot of attention to that.
Personally, I would agree with you in the sense that I think that causal contingency is perhaps more modest because back in those days there was a guy called Malenbrand or something like that who believed in a more sustaining kind of sense of contingency. And personally, I don't necessarily think that is the best way to go around contingency because it kind of has further theistic implications or theological implications, which I think are perhaps a bit more questionable. However, I personally also have a favorite, or like an interesting kind of form of cosmological or contingency argument, which kind of goes along the lines, which is quite similar to the Proust's one, which is like the premise one is there is a contingent fact that that which is contingent requires a further explanation or an external cause. Premise 2, which is the universe is the unity of all contingent facts. Then premise 3 is the universe is contingent. Then the conclusion is the universe requires a necessary foundation. That foundation is God. Though I would say that the only difference, perhaps the main difference here, is that premise 2, of course, is the universe is viewed as the unity of all contingent facts instead of the contingent fact that includes all contingent facts. The only reason why I had that change is because I was just thinking about set theory, because there's, and I might be going off on a tangent here, but there's, the Russell's paradox kind of thing where it says the set which contains itself is a bit of a paradoxical set. I was just thinking about, well, could there be a contingent fact that contains all other contingent facts, but then wouldn't there be some situation, well, how would we know that that contingent fact isn't part of itself? Or there's some sense of paradoxicality.
That is boring as shit.
Unless there's some arbitrary distinction between the two, which perhaps might be quite difficult to grant, but that's perhaps just beyond the point of this discussion.
To fit in heaven.
Man, fuck this shit.
So you got to go back to the world
That's
and
boring
try
as
and
fuck.
be a different kind of person. So we had a big argument, and I fought really, really hard with him. For reasons why he couldn't send me back to this world. For example, I said, the world is full of ugliness and evil and
Man,
meanness.
when I look like this,
Why
it
would you
makes me
send
want
me
to fucking
back to
kill
that
myself.
world? He said, those things certainly do exist in the world, but there's also beauty and love and goodness. And he said, what is in your heart is what you will attract. And if you look for love and beauty and goodness, you'll find it everywhere. And if you look for cruelty and meanness and evil, you'll find it everywhere. I think the big question I asked during this part of the conversation is, if I were willing to go back, which I was not, what would you want me to do down
You
there?
moron.
And he said, love the person that you're with. And I said, yeah, okay, yeah, but what do you want me to do? I get it, but what do you really want me to do? It's like I'd like to build a shrine or something, bring attention to you. He said,
You dumbass.
I don't want you to build a shrine. Those are for people. Those aren't for me or God. He said, I want you to love the person. If you love the person that you're with, that'll change the world. So he explained to me that there are millions of people in the plan to change the world, And he explained to me that there were billions of angels in the planet
March!
to bring about this reign of love in the world.
When you were back in your body, I mean, what were your first thoughts? Did you think it was a dream?
No, I knew that it wasn't a dream. I mean, I've had multiple dreams every day of my life, all my life. I knew this wasn't a dream, and I knew it wasn't a hallucination.
March!
It was the most important, real thing that ever happened to my life.
March!
In my mind, what am I going to do about it? I'd spent 38 years of my life
March!
making myself as a person, my persona, my personality,
March!
my thoughts, my ideas. And I knew because of the experience now I was going to have to re-examine and rebuild the whole thing from top to bottom.
Hole! Man, I stomped his ass.
In studying over 1,000 near-death experiences, starting at age 18, John Burke has heard a lot of stories like Howard's of hellish experiences. In 1992, a Gallup poll found that 13 million Americans have had a near-death experience. And John says of the people who actually come forward and share their near-death stories, 23% describe a dark and scary world. John has immersed himself in the good and the bad stories, along with scriptures relating to heaven and hell, to draw a clearer picture of the afterlife in his book, Imagine Heaven. I've only heard a few people in my life talk the way you talk, and they were all high. Thank you. I think there's something here, though. I think there's something universally true about this. And I mean high in the best possible way. Like you're seeing a different reality. You've seen a different dimension, and it's so much better.
Well, I would agree with that. In that I do think, I've never had one of these experiences. But I've talked to so many people now.
You've experienced it by proxies.
I feel like I have someone, so I get excited about it. And that's why I finally wrote it. I wrote it knowing, okay, I'm going to take a lot of, I won't say the word, for this.
You can, you wouldn't be the first.
But I think God wants people to know how real heaven is and how real the life to come is.
Real?
And that the whole reason there is pain and suffering and evil in this life is because we've gone our own way, not God's way. And we are feeling what it's like to have God not rule. God doesn't rule. He only rules in the hearts of those who are wanting him to rule. And so heaven is the place where only those who want him to rule would even be happy
Suck
there.
my dick.
God will let anybody in. Anybody.
One thing I've noticed is most of the flack you're catching about this book
Suck
isn't
my
from
dick.
neuroscientists or medical professionals. It's mostly from Christian types, Christian leaders. And there just seems to be a lot of fear-based reactions to the stuff you're bringing to the surface. And I understand it, but I think I understand it too well, because I was raised in a fear-based kind of Christianity, where I think what the aim is to keep all revelation of God, all knowledge of God, confined to the four walls of a church. Right, so when stuff like this starts happening, we're saying that non-Christians go and see Jesus and like all this, and Christians don't. It gets really scary really fast for institutional Christians.
It's because people don't ask questions enough and they don't wrestle with their faith enough.
Yeah.
I mean, why should Christians be surprised that everybody would see Jesus when Revelation 1:7 tells us that? All will see him, even those who pierced him.
It messes with those core beliefs we talked about.
It messes with a certain Phariseeism, which says, I'm special, God likes me more than them. You would never say that, but it acts that way. Like God somehow doesn't want anything to do with them until they become like me. That kind of attitude is actually what got Jesus crucified. In the name of God, by the way.
Right.
They were trying to protect God's reputation, supposedly. Now, reality is they were trying to protect their own power and control.
That's right.
Oh, yeah, let's get rid of that damn
religions, other cultures, and believed other things in their near-death experiences. You've mentioned some of them see Jesus. Do they also report seeing their guys there, like Krishna or Buddha?
So,
it's
interesting. In Imagine Heaven, like I write about a study done between 500 Indians and 500 Americans. Now, these were not Christians, and in fact, what I think they were trying to show is that near-death experiences are against all religious beliefs.
Right.
But what was reported was the same. So in India, they don't see the Vedic loci of the Hindu heaven. They don't experience or talk about reincarnation. They see a white-robed man with a beard and a book of accounts. They see this heavenly, beautiful gardens and people in white robes just bursting with light. That's similar in America, but what the researchers said is they experienced their life review, and even the good and the bad, but God is not judging them, they're judging themselves. You're your own worst judge. Now, many of the researchers who don't know the Bible conclude, see, God's not judging, you're just judging yourself, so just stop judging yourself and it's all good. We all go to heaven and everything's good. The problem is, Jesus said it. By your own words will you be acquitted.
Yeah, this
by
man
your own
never
words
saw
will you be
this
condemned.
pastor was rejected by
And he
God.
said every motive, every thought will be brought to light. But the other important thing to realize is Jesus didn't come to condemn us.
Yeah.
He said, God so loved the world, he gave his only son, that whoever believes in him should not perish but have eternal life.
Right.
So it's just a gift. Do you want a relationship with him or not?
Right.
It's that choice. But he said right after that, I did not come into the world to condemn the world, but that the world might be saved or set right, through me.
What did this all mean to your Christian
Come on,
worldview,
Dick
though?
Hole and Moon.
Does it open the gates wide to anyone and everyone, whether or not they know Jesus? In
With
this
her
life, in that passage you just referenced, he says, anyone who believes in me.
Yeah, we were talking about how
Man,
I'm an engineer, I was a skeptic, I was a doubter. So my biggest question had always been what I think is this generation's biggest question. It's that question of, what about the little Hindu kid who grows up with a granddad who's a guru and never heard of Jesus? You mean God's just going to send all those people to hell? I don't think that's actually clearly what the Bible teaches.
Okay.
And here's why.
Yeah, fuck those goddamn
My friend
Calvinists.
Jaya, he is the little boy with a granddad who was a guru
I'll put your
in a
black ass
village
for
in
Stalin.
India. Never
Even
met a
if you are
Christian.
black.
Never read a Bible. He had this desire to know, is there really a God, or is this really real and true? He breaks into his granddad's ancient scrolls. They were literally like palm leaf scrolls. Reading in the Rig Veda, he reads about the God of light who comes as a man, the Purush Prajapati, to sacrifice himself for the remission of karma. Karma is like sin. It's like the consequences of right and wrong action.
Sure.
And he goes, I have to know the God of light. And this traveling holy man comes through, stays with him because his granddad's the guru, and he asks him, do you know the God of light? And he said, I can
Get that whore out of here.
He does. Come with me on this train.
Right.
He goes 400 miles north up to Delhi. And halfway, the holy man and his assistant steal all Jaya's stuff and are gone the next morning.
The holy man
He doesn't have a
steals.
train ticket. He gets kicked off the train. He's despondent. He's going to kill himself. He lays down on the train tracks and he says, God of light, if you are real, rescue me. I see no reason to live. And he sees this light. He thinks it's the oncoming train, brighter than the sun. Next thing he knows, he says, I am the God of light, whom you seek.
Stupid!
Is Jesus. Jaya comes to faith in Jesus, never meeting a Christian, never
Dumbass.
seen a Bible, and devotes the rest of his life to serving Jesus.
You feel like that's the case a lot when you look at the different ways religion works throughout the world. And do you think God's left breadcrumbs?
I do.
To Christ?
I do.
In other religions?
I do.
Even if someone has picked up those breadcrumbs in this life and has never professed Jesus in
Get
this life,
that whore out of
be
here.
familiar enough with him in the next.
Yeah, not everyone would agree with me with this, but I'll tell you my theory. So I think what we know is that Jesus died for the sins of all humanity. That's all humanity before he died. That's all humanity since he died. And the only thing it takes to apply that to us is faith or trust in God. The question is, if you don't know, where does that leave you? Well, we know without a doubt, if you believe the Christian scriptures, that there will be people in heaven who never knew the name of Jesus. Abraham, Moses, Rahab the prostitute, the Queen of Sheba who came seeking God, all the Ninevites who were evil pagans, right?
Yes.
And I think Jesus was pointing this out even to the Jewish people who had become, it's all about us. I think what he's showing us is that God knows the human heart. And he knows if you did know what he had done for you through Jesus, would you accept it or would you not?
Damn! Fucking poems.
I started reading the Bible, and it was like, oh wow, all the things Jesus was telling me, they're all in the book. Oh, it's so cool. So then I started remembering Bible passages.
So damn aliens.
My family, which didn't go over real well. They thought I was crazy, out of my mind.
Your damn king is in check.
Everybody told me to stop it, which I wouldn't. It was a disaster. I eventually lost everybody. Turned them all off because of my zealotry. I literally had nobody. And I complained to God about it. I was like, okay, God, you send me back and I'm all alone. I've got no one. And God said to me, you're going to have more friends than you can possibly imagine. And he was right.
After his wife and children left him, Howard quit his job as an art professor, and in 1992 he was ordained in the United Church of Christ. He's been a pastor ever since, and today he's remarried. I asked Howard why he thinks Jesus saved him.
The Bible says in 4 places, anyone who calls upon the name of the Lord shall be saved. If you ask Jesus, Jesus hears you and will respond. I mean, it's got to be sincere. God is not a punishing God. God gives everybody exactly what they want. If you seek God and love God, you go to heaven. If you reject God, God's not going to force you to go to heaven because you don't want it. And so he lets you go to be by yourself. And the problem with going by yourself is you end up with a lot of people that have rejected God's love. And they tend to be not nice people. And I'm going to tell you a big secret. They make that place hell.
Come on, dickhole.
So will there be some Christians in hell?
Oh, yeah. A lot more Christians in hell than they think they are, because one of the horrible things about Christianity is there's a lot of people that use it. They think if they pay lip service to it, that's going to keep them out of hell and get them into heaven. But no, you have to, in your heart, mind, soul, and strength, you've got to try and live it. I'd also say that there's people that don't appear to be religious who are good Christians too. I know God is good. So whether it's the little boy in India or that sweet little grandma in China who never heard of Jesus, who did her best to love God, as she understood it, and to love her neighbor as herself. I don't see saying, you're out of here. My hope and my life is about, I want everybody to know Jesus Christ intimately, as their best friend, as their Lord, as their Savior, as God's perfect sacrifice for my sin and your sin in a very, very personal way. Knowing Jesus makes your life so much more life. Jesus gives love, hope, peace, self-control, patience, and joy, 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 joy. And in the world without Jesus, which I lived, you go from one pleasure which fades to unhappiness to seeking another pleasure which fades. So you're always chasing after the next gratifying experience with a partner. You're chasing after boats, you're chasing after bigger houses, you're chasing after more money, you're chasing after power, position.
Get that whore out of here.
Stuff, and none of it ever really makes you happy for more than a minute. The joy that Jesus gives is sustaining even in the worst possible circumstances.
If that is the end game,
my dick.
That real world, and this is more like the dream, then have you thought about what the point of this is? Is this life, is it a testing ground? Is it an incubation period? Is it...
It's a birth canal.
Really?
And I
Come
think
on,
that's what
dickhole.
Romans 8 says. All creation has been subjected to living under humanity deciding we don't want God ruling. And so all creation is groaning, as in the birth pangs of what's to come, in hopes that it will be liberated as well when God's children are finally revealed. That's what it says in Romans 8.
And this was God's plan all along, or is this God's response to evil choices?
Well, so I think, all right, so we'll get deeply philosophical for a second. The angels had a free will too. So the angels are creations. God is incredibly creative, if you haven't figured that out.
I can tell.
We have categorized 2 million species of animal, but they think there's 7 million or so. And he's created creatures that we don't see that are beyond our dimensionalities.
Yeah.
And, one species, I guess you'd call it, is an angel. But angels are eternal, and yet they're free. So this is what the scriptures teach us, right? That in God's presence, the angels, a third of the angels, made a decision to say, my will, not God's will. But because they're eternal, their choice was eternal.
Sure.
And there's only one place where God doesn't rule and the creature gets to rule. He created it for the angels. It's called hell. Go read it. It says it in the scriptures.
Yeah.
He didn't create hell for humans.
Yeah.
And so I believe that he created earth and remains somewhat removed for a time. And yet his presence is still governing somewhat. We still experience tastes of love and joy and peace and kindness, but we also experience selfishness and greed and poverty and addiction and
get that whore out of here.
And so I think in all of this, God is teaching us,
dumbass,
why we want to love and follow God. Why he is what we want.
So you're saying that happens in this life in small ways. And if we choose love in this life, in the next, we experience that in a whole different dimension.
Yeah, and as I was saying,
come on, bring that whore down
God
here.
God is actually teaching the eternal angels through us.
Whoa. You are a head trip, man.
Well, think about it.
I want to hang out with you
more.
No,
think about it. So if angels had the ability with free will to rebel against God, and that's what hell was created for, right? He creates humans, starting with the knowledge of good and evil, so that when we choose God in his presence, we will forever choose him. But angels who are ministering to us get to look in, and it says this in the scriptures, by the way. Angels long to look into these things and to understand these things, and they are ministering spirits to us. To serve us, but I think they're also learning in this birth canal what knowledge of evil is like.
Now I'm gonna ear your rook.
Why would we ever want to do that?
Dumbass.
Crystal was a 32-year-old mother of 4 when she went into the hospital for a routine procedure the morning of December 10th, 2009. She says the person who went into the hospital that day was a completely different person from the one who came out.
With his
my youngest twin was just barely 10 months old. I was married. We were the youth leaders of our church.
Stupid. Oh, you want a sandbag? Okay.
And from the outside looking
I'll put your black ass for sandbagging.
It looked as if everything was perfect.
Poor sport, bitch.
However, what lied within that life was a lifetime of secrets that I had kept. I was sexually abused from the age of right around 3 or 4 to the age of 12 by many members of a family, extended family. And so, because it started at such a young age, there was so much confusion, yet
I get the
it was all I had ever known. And so, I knew it was wrong, and I knew how it made me feel, but I hadn't known any different. I went to church my whole life. I remember being in the Baptist church and hearing about Jesus and how he would save me. And I desperately wanted to be saved from what was happening. And I remember running to the front and accepting him as my Savior and jumping into the water that night. When the sexual abuse continued, I started to question question at 8 years old. Maybe I had done something wrong with my baptism. And so that started a journey over the next 4 years until the age of 12. I was baptized
he's
4
gonna
times
ear my
in 3
rug.
different denominations. I mean, I was seriously seeking this salvation because my child mind thought he would save me from what was happening. And so at the age of 12, when the abuse continued, I really came to the realization that I had one of two things. Either one, God was real and he just did not love me, or two, there was no God. And I would go through my teenage years. I became very rebellious, and I got into drugs, alcohol, I became very promiscuous. And at the age of 17, I had my first child. At the age of 19, scared and alone and terrified to put my family back through another pregnancy, I walked into an abortion clinic alone.
Suck my dick.
And I can remember walking out that day and thinking, I will never tell anyone. And if there was a God, he could never love me after this. And I just kind of attached this guilt and this shame. It became almost like my armor, almost who I was. And, you know, I didn't have a relationship with God. Jesus was different to me. For some reason, Jesus appeared to be loving, whereas God, I was so afraid of.
I got God's arms. Suck my dick.
I went through my 20s. I ended up being married briefly. I had my second child, a daughter, and so that marriage ended after some abuse. And then at the age of 27, I had just finished college to become a teacher, and I met my husband today. Virgil was different than any other person I'd ever dated. He had a very strong relationship with God, and slowly I began to open up to him about who I really was. And yet he, you know, looked beyond all of the filth and the dirtiness and loved me. And he loved my kids, and it was just unfathomable to me that I could be loved that way. And
suck my dick.
The ironic part was that we became the youth ministers at the church, and I'm a teacher, and so I would teach these lessons, and then we would drive home, and I would lay in bed and talk to my husband and say, I just don't know that I believe. And what it really came down to was not that I ever didn't believe that God existed. The fact was is that if he existed, I had to face why he didn't love me. We had been married about 5 years. I could no longer have children. I felt that was probably punishment for the abortion that I had as a teenager, and we ended up going to fertility clinic. I prayed before we went, and I said, God, I don't know if you can hear me, but he deserves to be a father. You know, he's so wonderful. And I said, and I'll know you're real if we get pregnant. And so we went through our first round of IVF, and we got pregnant right away, and I went back into my little bathroom, and I remember crying and praying to God and saying, no, but I'll really know you're real if it's twins. And we found out we were twins. And then I went back into that little prayer closet, and I'd say, no, but I'll know for sure you're real if it's a boy and a girl. And they told us we were having a boy and a girl. And that should have been enough right there. And it just wasn't. I was too afraid.
10 months after giving birth to twins, and still doubting everything about God, still filled with shame and guilt, Crystal went into the hospital for a routine procedure. They accidentally nicked her pancreas, sending her into pancreatitis. The doctors told her she'd be in the hospital for 4 days at most.
And I saw my mom sitting at the foot of my bed. And she had her back to me, and she was reading
Come
a
on,
magazine.
dickhole.
And instantly,
shit,
this peace that I've never known in my entire life wrapped itself around me.
Suck my dick.
And I knew immediately that I was dying. And I wasn't afraid. And I had just this tiny bit of air left within my lungs. And as I was looking at the back of my mom, I pushed out the words, I love you.
Come on, you dickhole.
And then I closed my eyes. And literally within that same moment, I woke up in heaven. I found myself standing in this realm, the most realm that I had ever experienced, and I knew everything. I knew that I had just died in that hospital room. But I knew that I was the me, the true me that had existed from the moment that God had created me. Not the moment that I became Crystal on Earth, but the moment He created me.
Now you fuck.
And I had never felt a freedom like this
Dickhole.
before. Instantly I was greeted by two angels, and I was so excited to get to speak with them, and they were eagerly excited that I could hear them. Because I knew that they had been with me every second of this human journey. And now here I was, I could actually see them and hear them. And I became aware of another presence to my right. And as I turned to face this other presence, immediately I was engulfed in this golden, pure light. And I just fell right to my knees. And I remember just worshiping and crying because I recognized God.
Suck my dick.
I didn't need God. I recognized.
Suck my dick.
And immediately in that moment, He wrapped Himself around me. And what He was, what He is love. The most purest form of love. Here, this God that I have feared my entire life, upon being there, scooped me up and held me in His love. God knew how dirty and broken I was, and yet He scooped me up. And as I laid there at His feet, I looked down what I would call a tunnel, and I noticed the entrance to heaven. And God said, once we get there, you can't come back.
March.
In that moment, He showed me a vision of my children, and He told me to go back and I could be their mother. He showed me that the plan for their life was perfect, just as all of our plans are perfect. And I very quickly said no, I didn't want to go back. And so the vision of my children disappeared, and I continued to go towards the end of the film. And then I saw her, this beautiful little girl dancing.
March.
She was probably 3 or 4, and she had on a beautiful white dress with yellow flowers. She had a little basket in her hands, and she would just laugh.
March.
I remember instantly looking at her and making a claim like, she's mine. She belongs to me.
His.
And I wanted to get to her as fast as I could and scoop her up in my arms and love her and hold her, and just, I'd never loved anything the way I loved this little girl. And every time she would laugh, I noticed that I was swelling, like my spirit was just blowing up like a balloon, filled with love and pride for this little girl. And then I remember saying, I'm going to explode. I could not.
Let's play some damn chess.
And in an instant, God took it all from me. And He
I might lose this game. Look,
He had allowed me to look at her through His eyes.
I might
and when
lose
I
this
looked
game.
back down at her, I recognized her as me.
He's a red 1209.
Wondered
Well,
why.
I couldn't go through the whole game without getting my ass.
And in that moment,
I'm fixing to get a pole up my hole.
20 years of counseling
He's
has
fixing
never
to
been
fuck
able
my
to
hole.
happen. He healed me. In an instant, He told me that He had never left me, that He had given us the gift of free will, and I was hurt by humans, but that He had never abandoned me, and that what had happened to me and what had been done to me had
That's
never
why
changed
pores.
how He viewed me, and it changed me.
Don't even think about bringing that bishop right here.
And so in that moment, I was just ready to cross.
That will not
ready
work.
to cross over. And I heard my mom
Dumbass.
crying back in the hospital room. And I remember stopping, and I looked at the presence of God, and I said,
Suck my
she
dick.
doesn't know I'm okay. And I said, can I just tell her I'm okay? And He said, the choice is up to you. And when I turned from Him and the angels to go and find where her voice was coming from, He said, tell them what you can remember. And I remember thinking, how silly. And I called over my shoulder, I'll remember everything, and I'll be right back. And December 10th, this year will be 10 years from that moment. And it still wrecks me. And I was so angry when I first came back, because this wasn't what I had chosen. But then I watched my children at Christmas, and I celebrate a birthday, and I started understanding that this was a blessing, and I miss him every day.
Shit.
I have a relationship with him, but what I didn't realize was that last thing he said to me was the most important directive that I would ever be given. Tell them. Because there are so many other women like me and so many other men that think that this cloak that they wear of shame, condemnation, and filth is who they are.
Suck my...
And
oh,
they
you...
know that is not who you are. That little child playing in that
Dumbass.
light, that is who we are. I tell people if he could love somebody as broken as me, that he can love any of us. And
not me. He can't love me.
He's love. And all he asks in return is for a relationship. He does not want perfection. He wants relationship.
I'm willing. I'm willing. Jesus Christ, I'm willing.
I feel like I've been dealt such a good hand, but so many people have not. And so I think when I hear a story like Crystal's, there's so much mercy in that from God.
Well, it's what God is doing in the world. He's creating wounded healers, because the most powerful is someone able to reach out to somebody who's been through the same thing and say, there's a path forward from here. You don't have to stay stuck here.
Yeah, I think about the Crystals in life who don't have a near-death experience with God, where they see themselves as a 3-year-old girl.
Come on, okay, I'll report your black ass for stalling, even if you are white.
Of people who have walked together with God and with each other and have found healing from the same thing.
You think it means that God grades us on a curve? I've lived an easy life. Is my, do I not get the same curve that a Crystal does?
Well, I'll tell you, Eric, when I came to faith, one of the things that I kept hearing that I hated was, to whom much is given, much is required.
Right.
I had so much going for me, and it seemed like everything I touched turned to gold, and I was like, oh, crud, man, I want to ignore that, right? Yeah. And so I wouldn't say he grades on a curve. I would say we're all unique. We're all unique. And
he knows us.
He knows us, and he knows what he's given, and what our path is to be faithful to him with what he's given.
Oh, you son of a bitch.
Which means to be faithful with the gifts, with the resources, with the responsibilities.
Suck my
it's
dick.
Not hard. It's not a burden. This is what Jesus said. It's so amazing. Jesus said in Matthew 11:28, he said, all you who are weary and heavy burdened, hey, everybody feels anxiety these days, right? That's all of us pretty much. Come to me. My yoke is light. My burden is easy. I'm gentle and humble of heart. Come learn from me, and I will give you rest. So we get to exchange the heavy burden of trying so hard to prove ourselves or to be worth something or lovable or good enough or successful enough. We get to exchange that for being so loved that we can't even imagine it. And out of that place of peace and a place of connection and relationship with the God of the universe, now we're free to use our gifts not to prove ourselves, but to serve God and love others. And that's all we have to do.
And that's heaven.
And each one, has a unique path. Each one has a unique burden.
I love this line you wrote. You said, heaven will be the place where you realize how uniquely loved you are. And God doesn't want you to wait until heaven to experience that.
Yeah.
It's profound. It all comes back to love and knowing how uniquely loved we are.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
It's so simple, isn't it?
It is.
I reported his black ass for stalling. I reported his black ass for stalling, even if he is
Most of us believed in heaven and hell when we were kids.
Damn.
But growing up made us cynical. And to the cynic,
heaven
and hell start to sound like the fictional machinations of religious men vying to keep their people under control. But despite our skepticism,
it's my
can't
move.
stop thinking about life after death. Even in our post-religious culture,
Man.
the afterlife is everywhere. Of all our episodes so far, we've received the most feedback about part 1 of this show.
Oh, you're not gonna ear my
So
word,
I figure
dumbass.
one of two things is true. Either we're so afraid of the finality of death that we'll suspend our disbelief and listen to stories like the ones in this episode,
I apologize.
even though we know
I
they're not
fucked up.
true. Or The reason we're so curious about eternity and God and heaven and hell is because we know, deep down, this life is not all there is. Deep down, we know there's something more. Colossians 3
Oh,
says,
hell no, you're not going to do that.
And not on earthly things. Clothe yourselves with compassion, kindness, and patience. Forgive each other as the Lord forgave you. And over all these virtues, put on love, which binds them all together in perfect unity. Thanks to John Burke and all our guests on this episode, I'm feeling inspired to set my mind on things above and to put on love, because that's truly what it's all about. I hope you're inspired too. As always, thank you for listening to Maybe God.
I keep fighting.
Suck my dick.
In my mind, say I'm not enough.
Fucking pulling out, ass you up! Dumbass.
Single lie that tells me I will never measure. Am I more than just the sum?
No. Suck my dick. Suck my dick. Oh, fuck. Suck my dick. Come on, you dick sucker. Suck my dick. It's having a gent. It's Uzi arms him. Come on, you dickhole. Come on, you dickhole. Oh my god, I fucked up. Oh my fucking god. Come on, dickhole. Come on, dickhole. You stupid. You dumbass. Dumbass. Suck my dick. 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 That fucking look at here, you son of a bitch. No, I don't. Yeah, you suck my dick. Oh. Come on, you dick sucker. No, 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 no. Well, I'm running out of time. It's all my damn fault. Come on, dickhole. Man, I want a rematch. That fucking pisses me off. Rematch me. That fucking pisses me off. No, no. That fucking pisses me off. That fucking pisses me off. Goddamn window. That fucking pisses me off. God damn. That fucking pisses me off. God damn, dick sucker. That fucking shit pissed my ass off some kind of fucking madly. Goddamn bitch. No, suck my dick. Suck my dick. Suck my dick. No. Suck my dick. Suck my dick. Bring that whore on here. No. Suck my dick. Don't even think about it. Suck my dick. No, you suck my dick. No, you suck my dick. That last game fucking pissed me off. I could have won that fucking shit. Yawn! Suck my dick. Man, this fucking Windows keeps fucking pissing me off. No, you suck my fucking dick. Suck my dick. Come on, you dick sucker. No, I'm gonna get my whole fuck this. Man, this is fucking pissing me off. Suck, man, time to fucking window repair. Suck my dick. No, suck my dick. You think you're gonna get me in checkmate there? You can suck my motherfucking dick. Suck my dick. Suck my dick. God damn. God damn. God damn. Son of a bitch. Man, this is goddamn pissing me off. God damn. Suck my dick. Suck my dick. God damn it. Suck my dick. You're gonna lose one of those fucking pieces. Stupid bitch. my dick, you stupid bitch. Stupid! Suck my dick. Suck my dick. Suck my fucking dick. Suck my fucking dick. No, no, no. No, suck my dick. Stupid bitch. Suck my dick. Damn, I didn't want to move there. God damn. Come on, you dick suck. Oh, shit. I got that kind of fucking bishop will fuck my ass. Yawn! Come on, you dickhole. No. Suck my dick. Oh, fuck. Suck my dick. Suck my dick. Now let's see if he's stupid enough to fall for it. Fuck no, I ain't taking no fucking draw, you stupid bitch. Suck my dick. Yeah, hopefully if he's stupid enough, he'll do that. I can only win on time with this motherfucker. Stupid! I fucked his hole! That was sweet.